So I really wasn't planning on doing this today, but I had to drive like 45 minutes in order to find a machine like that. That's what I've been looking for a little while. It's called a reciprocating aerator. So what it does is it actually pokes holes down in there instead of sort of rolling along on those traditional aerators. Those are just harder to use and you got to kind of manhandle them around. So this one today, I decided if I could find one of those, I would go ahead and rent that, and I finally found one, but it was about 45 minutes drive. So by the time I got there, I was like, well, I can either reserve it and I can come back and get it in a couple days when I really wanted to do this, or I can just take it now and go do the work. Alright, so I'm a few rounds in here and I have some information to share with you. This is the first time I've ever used one of these machines of that type. So the first time I drove that thing right there, I definitely ripped up some turf. So in order to avoid that damage, you want to actually get the thing rolling first and then engage it so that you're moving along, because if it's in a stationary position and it starts to sort of go right into the ground at that point, then it seems to be causing some damage when it does that. Still a little bit of work, but not nearly the amount that you're used to if you're used to pushing around one of those traditional aerators. I definitely recommend it so far. The cores, I wouldn't say I'm pulling like an extremely great core. I'll show you what they look like here in a second. For the most part, way easier to use, and I would rather go this route. You might say, well, you've missed a few spots in here, Ryan. Yes, I have, because last night I watered the lawn in preparation for this coming up this week. I wasn't sure exactly when I was going to do that, but then it rained actually this morning, and I know that's a word that I haven't used in a while. The ground is fairly wet and I'm pulling up cores just fine, but if I'm running over them with those tires, it's just smashing that muddy stuff back into the ground, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to rake up the cores first here, and then I will go over the areas that I missed, probably rake again, and then go over it. Just make sure I have enough holes in there, because so a couple things you have to remember here. Make sure you know where your sprinkler heads are at, because you don't want to smash one of those with the machine. Pretty much now I'm gonna go get my equipment to start removing these cores, and the reason for that, like I said, will be that I need to clean up some of these cores first so I can keep going over the yard without smashing in all these other ones. So I've talked about this before, but these plastic rakes are just awesome for actually cleaning up stuff. I don't know what it is about them, but they just grab onto everything, and these cheap plastic rakes are something that are really great to have. So like I said here too, I'm not getting an extremely great core as far as depth goes, but so that's about what it looks like here. It's probably, I don't know, I'd say about a 2-inch core, somewhere around there. And I've done the best that I can as far as watering and making sure that this was prepared for this, so that's really all you can do at that point. So you know what I actually forgot was that last year I used my Swordman to pick up some of the cores after I did some aeration, so I should probably try that again. I'm sure that the front roller may end up smashing a few of them, but I'm gonna find out, because that would be a lot easier if that worked. I actually need to dethatch out there anyway, because I'm preparing to cut that down lower. So I'd like to get rid of all the dead stuff from summer and whatever's left. And so I really need to do this process anyway. If I could do a 2-for-1 deal here, that would be kind of nice. Get this switched out. All I have to do is raise this all the way up, take that belt off, and then there's 2 screws that hold this in. So this is the Scarifier type tool. and it's very similar, I guess, what I would call dethatcher. It just depends on how you want to use this thing. So you can set it lower or you can set it higher depending on if you want to comb through the grass and kind of pick stuff up, or if you want to be more aggressive and actually get down into the thatch layer. Okay. So I gotta set this down. I'd say it's usually set at a little under 1/4 of an inch to start. And just see if it's going to grab into the soil. You really don't know until you start, so. So we've gone through this whole section now with the Electra, and that's doing a great job of cleaning everything out. And then my neighbor's over here helping me as well. So now I'm gonna go through and probably make one more pass with the aerator, and we'll go through this whole section again, pick up the cores, and it should be good. Alright, so a couple things that I've noticed here is that you've only got 4 tines on the back of that machine, so it does take quite a bit of time to cover an area. This is only 4,000 square feet, but it does take some time because you don't have a real wide path there that you're doing every time. Also, in order to get close to the next path that you're doing, you need to actually run those wheels sort of over the cores. And if it's at all wet like it is today, then it's kind of picking those up on the wheels and sort of smashing them down and all that. So just something that I've taken note of so far. I don't know that I would say it saves you a whole lot of time compared to the other ones. I actually think maybe the traditional ones are slightly faster if you get like a 5 tine, but just some observations so far. So we made it through, I think, every section at least 3 or 4 times, and finally the battery died on the Electra, so I've got to go plug that in. But I'm pretty impressed with the battery because we had it on the regenerative mode for the whole time, so we went through that at least 3 times, some of the sections 4 times, and it made it through all of that without dying. So I only had about 3 or 4 passes left right on this corner right here when it died, but I'll go plug that in, and it's looking really, really good. I'm excited to get going on the next steps here. Well, we're back at it this morning, and of course it's nice and wet outside yet this morning, but you just got to do what you got to do. Today my friend and neighbor Will is back helping me, and we need to get through this backyard today. So we need to cut it down lower, we need to get through the dethatching process, we need to get through aerating this section, and then that will pretty much be it because I need to take the machine back.